you know what a SWIP permit is? Yep, see, 5 years ago, I didn't. It's a stormwater pollution prevention plan. You have to have those before you build churches. I didn't know that. We started out with the groundbreaking years ago. When we started this, the guy doing the dirt work came to my shop one day and said, where's your permit? I'm looking at him like, I don't know what you're talking about. Thank goodness, Macon Construction and Dave Kirkley, some of the people pointed us in the right direction. We got that out of the way. That was just the first hurdle in a very long race. I don't know. I don't even know where to start. It was a long process. This dedication day, they asked me to stand up here and thank some of the people that have helped. I don't think you want to be here for 3 days. There's just tons and tons of people that have donated time, resources, finances. I mean, it's just the list of people would, I don't know. I started going through pictures last night on the computers from Dave Kirkley has a drone. He took some pictures one time. I asked him to take some pictures. We've got a picture of just the foundation of the building. It wasn't up there. But we've got 200,000 pounds of steel laying on the ground that came off that east side of the building here. Rodney showed me that you're not supposed to set a crane up under power lines. I guess that's a rule somewhere. You're not supposed to touch high voltage with cranes either. But we had 200,000 pounds of steel, and we had cement in the ground at that point. And from that point, where's my other cheat sheet? We started that September 22nd of 2016. The metal hit the ground. And it's kind of been uphill from there. I had this big fancy speech. I guess one of our initial meetings too, Rick Eschbaugh was at Pastor Bruce's house at the time at the parsonage, and we had a big meeting. We were talking about redoing the old church. We were going to have some plans from a firm from Miles City working with us. We kind of went a different direction. We found out just to get that building leveled out, get the concrete cleaned up, was going to cost over $100,000. So when you're a church full of agricultural people and farmers, spending $100,000, and when you're done, you just got a level piece of ground. We went a different direction. So Rick's comment was, he said, so many people in the building process get hung up on the building. You forget that, you know, the building is not the church. This building was a facility, the old one. It wasn't your church that built down, it was a building that burnt down. And he made the comment 5 years ago that people get hung up on the fact that you're putting up this building. You might lose sight sometimes of why you're putting the building and the fact that the people that attend, that's where the church is. It's not this facility or in this case, the steel and the sheetrock that go up. That it's just a facility. It's just a building. Don't get hung up on that. So I've always remembered his comment. It was kind of offhand at the time, but I remember that a lot. It was kind of a thing that was, when Melba was still alive, she used to say, I would say to her, if you're willing to work, we're willing to let you. And I think that's a kind of a motto for a lot of churches. And I don't think we had people that were willing to work for this project. We had people that wanted to work. We had just so many people turned out to work with. If you watch that video, that sheetrock is 4 by 12, 4 foot tall, and they're 12 foot long pieces of sheetrock going up overhead at 20-some foot in the air. And there was, I don't know, 1,000 of them, 800. It was a semi-load of them, crazy things. And those guys were here for, I forget how many. I asked Rodney one time when they did the roof, I said, how long does that take? Oh, 2 to 3 weeks if everything goes well. And in, I think, almost 7 days, the roof was done on this building. We had that much help, that much equipment. We had lifts. I don't know, we had Macon Constructions, telehandlers in here. We just had people brought equipment from everywhere. So that was kind of a good example of how this project moved along. We had people show up, equipment showed up. It was just amazing. You had in your, should have had in your bulletins this morning in church a list of people that have donated time and resources. I've got a little chronological thing here. It says November 18th, 2014. I was down at the shop that day. I was washing the car. My phone rang 5 times before I was like, I'm pretty German. I do one thing at a time. I don't do it very well, but if I stop, it's bad. Get me started. I finally answered the phone, and Darla Downs was with the paper. She goes, hey, your church is burning down. Oh, well, that's a great phone call to start. Drop everything you're doing, run up the hill, and the church was on fire. So we started that. It seemed like a pretty devastating thing at the time. Hindsight, I think God always has a plan. I used to joke in our building committee meetings is, we're right where God wants us to be. Sometimes that wasn't all in agreement with where we thought, how far the project to be along, where our finances were, materials. We had a lot of questions during that. We held our first church service at the Sherman, November 23rd of 2014. We met downstairs in the Sherman. we were looking around town trying to find some place, where are you going to tuck 70, 80 people or more on a Sunday morning? Where do you go for? In Wolf Point, Montana, we had some limited choices. Very generously, the people at the Community Bible Church, I think, Helen and Tom, would you stand up, please, Les? They invited us into their church for, we were there for 5 years. We started going to church November 30th, 2014, and the last time we had service and attended with them up there was May 26th of 2019. They let us use their church building, their facilities. They welcomed us up there. It was just, I don't know. It was a very generous offer, and we appreciated it. We appreciated them. We made a lot of memories. I don't know. We replaced a couple of faucets. It was a good time. I think it was just a blessing. We didn't know at the time. We were looking at all over places. We talked with the Lutheran Church about attending services there, and we appreciate that more than you know. It was, how do you open up a church to a bunch of people that you may know, but you're gonna, your belief system, some of the things, your do's and your don'ts. You're gonna let these people into your church, and we ran services. Pastor Bruce had some spare time. We left him. He kept talking about retirement. We said, no, not yet. We got a few things left for you to do. So we kept him going. But that was just, it was good. We had a good time up there. It was good people. The first building permit we had, September 19th of 2016, we got our building permit. The metal unloaded, talked about that. The groundbreaking here at the church, October 24th, 2016. We had a ceremony. Did we bury a hymnal out there? Did we bury something by the cross, Bruce? We put a little time capsule thing in the ground out there, so it was kind of I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was all 5 years ago when the buildings, and we came up here. Who was here? Ken Heidner was here, myself. We had a place out of Williston came up and did some soil sampling for us. So they came up here, and we went down, had them do that, and this is the old drive-in, so the guys that came up are looking around like, you guys irrigate around here? Why is there humps in the ground? There was wires sticking out, the old speakers from when the drive-in and things were up here, so they were kind of curious, but they did some soil sampling. We did all that. Cement work started June of 2017. The metal work started in June 26th of 2017. The church was enclosed July of 2017. Is this all bringing back memories, Rodney? Stand up, Rodney. I guess two. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rodney Krause. He was here every day, 5, 6 days a week sometimes here for the sheetrock hanging. Besides the volunteers, he's actually built a church or two in his time, so he was here kind of orchestrating things a little bit, but he was here every day in his motorhome and wherever we could tuck him in the cold months, so he was here every day and today, so he put in hours. We had our last building committee meeting a couple weeks ago, and I did some fast math, so I don't know if I recognize those building committee guys, but we had estimated 800 hours of meetings in the last 4.5 or 5 years, just talking about the things that concern buildings, SWIP permits, oh Lord, 800 hours of meeting. I don't know how many hours. Rodney and I talked one time. We estimated the fact that if we had to pay a construction crew to come in and put this building up, you were going to spend at least $250,000 or $300,000. You're going to pay a crew that much money to come in. These people volunteered, and they took time away from their jobs, their homes, their families. They came in and put up a building. So I can't fathom sometimes about from where this started off from that drive-in with the humps in the ground to we're standing inside this thing today and we're having church services, and Colton got married in here. We had lights hanging from the roof. It was there was no pressure there. You were trying to round up 200 folding chairs in Wolf Point, Montana. Thank goodness for Punky and some of the crew. We put the cross on the cupola September 27th, 2017. Windows, sheetrocking, just mudding, sidewalks, I don't know. Everything that happened here to where we're at today. One of the verses I had that I thought was appropriate, 1 Corinthians 3:9. It says, "For we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field and God's building." So this is like, say, we're in God's building. This is not the church. This is a building. The people that attend and donate and come to church every day and support like say, the volunteer help, that is where God's at. Where's my list at? I'll read this list, and this is by no means inclusive. We had so many people that I don't know. I think the important people that should be recognized are the families that donated snacks and meals, because nobody missed a meal. Any of the days we're working up here, the food and the snacks, it was just a constant stream of, we had a big sign, should have put up, dieters need not apply, don't come in. It was awesome. First of all, I guess we'd like to thank the Community Bible Church for allowing us to worship with them. That was just, what an outpouring of love that was. Kelly and Michelle Taves, hired men. They came in. We had people from around the community. They're hired men. They were paying. They would send in to work at the church to help out for the sheetrocking, the studying, all the things were going on. The Brown brothers sent some hired men in. Jess and Rhonda Swears and Sons. The freeze and harvesting crew was up here. They were a custom cutting crew. They had some spare time with, I guess it rained a couple days sometime this summer and fall, so they came in, helped us out. John Skillman. The Sundown Group. This church wouldn't be standing here today without, when we were talking about the initial phases of the old church and it burned down, we dealt with an architect firm from Miles City. These gentlemen donated the ground this church sits on. For whatever reason. Steve Berg, R.J. Dornick, Dwayne, Karakwa, Gerald Peterson, Jeff Presser, Ross Ansifer, and Tom Alt graciously donated this ground. I don't know where the thought, who talked to them. I guess I wasn't involved in that, but they donated this ground this church sits on up here. And that was just something that was, like I say, that whole thing started. That's where God wants us to be. That was a thing that we couldn't have bought property around here. We didn't have the finances at that point to buy ground to put a new church. I mean, this thing, like I say, was a drive-in. It wasn't even a thought process. Joel and I really considered, we want to go to the old John Deere building. We thought we could probably build a church in there, but that got voted down, so. Dave and Taja Kirkley, Macon Construction. We used a bunch of their equipment. Sometimes we asked them, sometimes we didn't, I guess. I was up in Nashua one morning, stole their telehandler, brought it up here, got it parking lot on the trailer, went to get in it. I'd locked the door. I'm not familiar with that kind of equipment. It took me about 20 minutes to find out there's a back window. I had to break into the telehandler. We got her off. And Sanderson Stewart, there's an engineering firm from Billings, is where they're from. They did all of it's called civil engineering outside the parking lot, the gravel, a lot of stuff we had to do out there. They designed it. You have to have somebody with an engineering degree and a stamp that signs off on that stuff. They did that for us, and they discounted a ton of their work. And on top of that, Ken Heiden's son Jeff works for them. He donated. He came back, would have been over there somewhere. We had him an office set up for a while during the construction phase. He worked out of here. He had his laptop and did work here, but he donated a bunch of his time. We didn't pay for any of his hours, and I can tell you from dealing with some of the other engineering firms we've dealt with, they get paid very well. They do an important job, but you have to have people that have an education with a degree sign off on some of these plans. I offered to, they wouldn't let me. So, but he discounted. He donated time. They discounted their work. Almost every invoice we had, they donated that. So I appreciate Sanderson Stewart and Jeff. Bob and Connie Zimmerman donated the crane that I tried to electrocute everybody with. We had that. The Hilkemans, David Hilkeman, Mike Hilkeman. Mike is still out here. If you look at the carport and the rock work being done out there, I mean, I don't know. I always tell people, just because I own a hammer doesn't probably mean I should use it sometimes. You think about that stuff, you would think it was simple. It's just nailing that rock to the wall or putting the siding up. It is not that simple. Mike has been out there for hours and days, and especially this nice time of year. We worked 2 weeks ago or last week. The wind was blowing. Well, it seems to concentrate in the carport for some reason. But up on lifts, working out there in the cold weather, siding's up. It looks very nice. The Bethlehem Mennonite Church in Bloomfield donated a lot of the furniture, the piano. I know we had Bibles and hymn books. I don't know all the stuff. They donated a bunch of stuff inside the building. Peggy Iba for cleaning. Just like I say, I started writing a list last night. It would have taken hours. Nathan and Jan Lee donated the desk and the office furniture in the reception area, Pastor Mike's office. Keith and Joan Unger have donated some of the decorations you see up here. Oh, I have one more funny story, then I'll get out of here. Willard Taves. This is the only reason we have a carport on this building. We had this, when we first donated in the design phase, we had a gentleman that we talked with. They said, that thing's going to cost $100,000. Well, at that point in time, it sounded like a lot of money. We were just starting out. $100,000 was a ton of money. And Willard, same comment, says, where's your faith? We all looked around like, well, it's got to be here somewhere. But we went from having we were going to design the building with the option of having that carport at some point in time, just not do it yet. But again, it just where's your faith? Oh, you're building a church. We found some faith. We put a carport on there. It's a building. Like I say, the people here are the church. I appreciate the guys in the building committee. And like I say, the people that worked inside here, I don't know how many, literally thousands of hours I had to work. But that's what it takes to put a building up. I don't know what it takes to hold one together or a church, but it takes godly people, and that's what we have here. I appreciate those people and the time. Appreciate my wife for letting me go every Monday night. I'm not sure we solved any problems, but we sure discussed a lot of things. So, anyway, we're here today to continue to honor God. We're thankful for this building. We're more thankful for the people that are in it. I'm thankful for the people that have donated time, resources. It's just I don't know. Poor Clayton, he had to field a lot of phone calls from me for technical issues about, you're talking about SWIP permits and things that I don't deal with. I have never had experience with that stuff. I'm not sure if Clayton did, but we know people. That's our claim to fame. I might not know things, but I have a phone and we know people. So he was a good sounding board for a lot of this stuff too. And all the gentlemen on the committee, I just appreciate your time. I think that's it. Yeah, I thank you for coming out today. It's great to see this facility as far as it is today. Just like I say, from a drive-in theater in Wolf Point, Montana years ago that got torn down, bare ground and wires, to what this facility is today, like the slideshow. You look at the steel and the metal as this project progressed. There's no reason that through our power and the stuff we have, I don't know. I think we've got one licensed contractor in our whole congregation, but a lot of guys own hammers apparently. And those people showed up. And I think it's a lot about what God does. He's the opportunity He gives you to show up. Don't waste them.